This is Lindsay again. And the next database I'm going to show you is something called Business Source Complete. And we're going to start from a different place to find the database itself. So we're back at the library homepage. I've been starting at the business guide and showing you the links from there, but I also want to show you that you can find the links from just about anywhere on our website. Everything kind of repeats. It's meant to be repetitive over and over and over again in the same places. So we're looking for the database Business Source Complete. From the library homepage, you'll want articles to be the most dark. And then this is the subject and course research guide link, but what we're going to click is A to Z databases. And this is an alphabetical listing of all of the databases that we own. So if I say find Standard & Poor's, or you know you're looking for key business ratios, this is another way you can go because you can go directly to those if you haven't bookmarked the business guide or something like that. Again, alphabetical, so we're in our A's, we just find B because we're looking for Business Source Complete. And it's right there. And in this recording, I'm actually on campus, so I wasn't asked to do the login where you have to put in your RegisNet information. In this case, it just authenticated me right through. If you're working in several databases from home, you probably only have to log in once and it should look more like this. But in this case, it would also say log in and then proceed to outside service if you were off campus and it was the first database you looked at that day. So this is an EBSCOhost database. And Business Source Complete is also where you're going to be finding your narrative type resources, academic journals, studies, and things like that, or SWOT analysis, newspaper, magazine articles. That's what's in this database, not particularly those raw numbers that we discussed in some of the corporate financial and the key business ratios, for instance. EBSCOhost is, I'm going to mention this because of citation, and this is something that confuses students often, and that's this EBSCOhost versus Business Source Complete. EBSCOhost is a company that provides us with this background, the white and blue and the kind of green, the search interface. That's what EBSCOhost does. They actually are not a database. If I click Choose Databases next to Business Source Complete, you get a list of all of the databases that we own that are EBSCOhost databases. And you can actually search these together, which can be sort of helpful. One that might be of interest is Academic Search Premier, and I'm going to add that to this search. For instance, though you wouldn't want Atla Religion in this case, right? Because we're looking at business resources. But let's add Academic Search Premier. Academic Search Premier is another database you'll probably use quite a bit in your time here. So again, EBSCOhost is not a database, they're a vendor, and the database itself is Business Source Complete or Academic Search Premier. You'll see a little bit later. You can do some limiting straight off the front. For instance, publication date is one I could see happening right away that you might find helpful. You do have a NACS industry code section or a company, ticker symbols. But this is kind of your Google search, if you will, as a database like this. You're just trying to find lots of different information or topic searching. For instance, we could look at, let's just put in leadership. This is going to be super huge, super broad, but I want to show you what a general search can look like. And when I search select field optional, this is your largest search. Again, your Google-esque. There are some other ways of limiting, but you don't have to do that right off the bat. And that's kind of what I want to articulate here. You can see we're at 341,000. So this is huge. This is a huge amount. And leadership, of course, that would be a lot. You can see right from the front, the subjects kind of give you a little bit more darker heading. And I'm going to show an example of how subject searching. So you kind of do your general search, and then you can look at subjects. And maybe this limits it for you, and you don't have to, you're generally kind of looking for leadership, but this gives you, the subject terms give you some prompts that you weren't aware of. So if I click, remember we were at nearly 50,000. Let's do just leadership from this search. It's an entirely new search, and it took me down to 560. So I want to show you just precisely how well those subject searching can help. In the databases, they can mean the difference of finding precisely what you want, which happens when the title seems to be on topic, and then you get into the article and it has nothing to do with what you wanted it to. from the actual the actual article itself, just that title seems on topic. This helps you to limit in a really quick and easy way. But let's also start from our company search, and we'll go to our Starbucks example. I think it's Starbucks, right? Let's see. And I'm just going to, again, search generally. We'll talk about some other limiters as we go down. So again, we're at 13,000 results. Right? That's a lot. One thing I want to mention first is this limit to full text. Please do not do. We'll talk about that in a moment, but just don't limit to full text right away. You'll be limiting yourself to a lot of our collection, and you'll see that in just a moment. Publication date, now this might be something you would want to limit right off the bat, especially when you're dealing with 13,000. So we could do the last couple of years, let's say. And maybe you've caught on to this Starbucks Corporation SWOT analysis. We will get to that in just a moment. Because there are, oh, and this took us down to 6,000. Still a lot. Your source types. So you have magazines, news, newspapers, what this might mean, versus academic journals. You could search just magazines. These delineations tend to be database supplied, but generally, so if you kind of like a magazine will be your Time, Newsweek. Even The Economist can fall into magazines sometimes. These are your journalists who are writing for these articles. They're giving you the who, what, why, when, how of a story. Also your news, that might be more particular to newspapers or announcements, again, versus magazines. Trade publications, this is where magazines and trade publications get a little, the line is a little blurred. Trade publications tend to be very specific to an industry, for instance. Just on coffee shops, possibly. Where magazines, again, might be Time, where an article on Starbucks showed up on the front of Time or was featured in Time or something like that. And then your academic journals. Your academic journals are your really in-depth secondary research articles. Academics, researchers have gone in and surveyed a bunch of CEOs, asked a few questions, and then are reporting the research back. Tend to be really large, dense kind of information. So you're just looking at different types of literature here. When it comes to businesses, an academic journal can take a really long time to get published. So magazines and news and trade publications can still be a really good place to look. It's not a judgment call on this. It really happens to be with the kind of information that you're trying to find. You also have more subjects. Another really good way to search in these databases is for your CEO of the company. So in your SWOT analysis, you're trying to find some of your SWOT is internal and some of your SWOT is external. And so searching the company, and we'll see Starbucks has a SWOT itself. We'll look at that in a moment. But also the CEO to find those news things that are happening, or COO or something like that. Maybe Starbucks and coffee house in general to get a little bit more. Possibly limiting yourself to the United States is important or isn't. To be careful about these kind of things, especially in academic literature, that you're dealing with U.S. or businesses or a similar business environment can be important, or not at all. It kind of depends. I wanted to show you that down here, it's giving us the two databases. So one is Business Source Complete, there's 4,000, and Academic Search Premier has 1,800. I wanted to show you that to show that Academic Search Premier is still a really good business database. It's not the main one. Business Source Complete is clearly the best. But this is a way of broadening out, is to use a different database. The other thing I want to show when it comes to how you use this database is these lovely delineations of HTML full text, PDF full text, or check for full text. When you see PDF full text or HTML is just text. You'll see that a lot with magazines, and this is that of Fortune, or newspapers especially. You'll see HTML. So it's just the words. They're really small. They can be better when you're looking to send yourself in an email, where PDFs can sometimes be really big and cause depending on your email, that's maybe an older problem. But PDFs just are larger. So HTML is just the words, just the text in a really simple, straightforward way. PDF full text is how it would look if you actually had Fortune in front of you and were reading it. And the third link is check for full text. This is when it doesn't exist in this database, but if I click check for full text, I'll be taken out of that database and into another little screen here, a resource here at the library. It is a Regis Library resource. In this particular case, I still get my journal, but I do have, sorry, this article is not available at Regis. That means you have to interlibrary loan a copy, but the interlibrary loan link is right here. So you can do, you can do that all in one little click. Or, let's go into this next one, check for full text. Same screen opens up. And in this case, so we have the article linked right here. So one case we had interlibrary loan and it said, sorry, 0 right here. And in this other case, the article is right here. So this is why you do not limit yourself to the full text within this database, is even though it's a couple other clicks, you do have access to that article right here immediately. You don't have to submit an order for it. You can link. And I would open up some of these articles, but actually when I've been testing, my share screen doesn't open up with the articles very well. So we won't do that right now. But if you're having trouble finding that full text, please let us know. Very finally, we do see that Starbucks has a SWOT, since that's kind of fun, but I wanted to show you can also search here for a SWOT analysis. Let's just do Starbucks and SWOT, and it takes us down to 12. We do have a June 2017 item here. It looks like a few others. There's an August 2016 and a 2015 and a 2014. It may be this easy for you, especially if you work for a huge, large corporation that's in the news a lot for whatever reason. You may find a SWOT analysis actually done for you. But the point of your assignment is kind of to do those things yourself, right? Hopefully you're working within the industry and maybe have some insights into some strengths and weaknesses, maybe the exact organization, but at least the SWOT kind of can give you some examples. Or if you're really just looking to understand what a SWOT looks like, and the corporation itself isn't really important to you, you're just trying to look at format, here's another use for the SWOT analysis. We'll talk in another video on how to cite. You can use these, but I think that the point of your assignment is to look outside that and find it through other information and kind of come up with those things yourself. The last thing I want to show is what a record looks like, because you are getting some NAICS codes, which can be helpful. On your ticker, you can search that way. But also your sort of features for what you can do with this once you find it. Here's your print. You can email, you can save or export, and you can also use a cite feature. We'll click on cite. We'll go to the APA. Right here, I believe it's APA, right? And in this case, I'll tell you right from looking at it that this is not correct APA. APA, you capitalize a little differently, but at least from this point, you are editing instead of starting from scratch, or at least it helps you know if you're on the right track with your citations, and it gives you all the pieces of information. Again, I would not bet your grade on this. This is a computer, and how it's put in is how it will get spit out. So if it's wrong, if it's typed in wrong, it'll get spit out incorrectly. So don't bet your grade on these citation tools, no matter what citation tool you are using, but it's a start. All right. So that is Business Source Complete, or an introduction to Business Source Complete.